Let's get down to nitty-gritties. This is a call to action, so we're here to make all you people work for us, deliver this program. The mission is very clear here, and I think Paddy has said it, and I think Dave has. But let me say it, we're going to put on the best science conference in the world in that first week in July. That is the mission, okay? How do we achieve that? With your help, with my help, with Paddy's help. It's a team effort. I've got 3 other jobs, you see, so this is another job for me. But we're so committed to it, and it's the most exciting thing to be involved in. I'm delighted when Paddy asked me to chair the programme committee. It was going to be Frank Gannon. We don't mention him anymore. But I was delighted to take on the task, and it's a wonderfully exciting thing. We've got a fantastic steering group, a great programme committee. The editor of Nature is on the programme committee, and when I introduce him to my friends, they say, who? The editor of Nature, I say, and it's a real thrill. So it's a wonderful thing to be involved in from my point of view, I would say. But remember, that is the mission. And in Dublin, especially that first week in July, our goal is to get the best and brightest in science in Dublin for that week. Now, they've got to be mainly European. It is a European conference. We always have to emphasise that. Not mainly, I mean, the balance has to be struck with European science versus other places. And that's something that we have to be aware of. It is to represent European science, and the strength of Europe is the goal. But just imagine that. We're going to have the best scientists in the world in Dublin for the first time ever, that first week in July. How do we achieve that? We convince them, we cajole them, we ask our mates. I mean, I've got 2 Nobel laureate mates, so I'll put the squeeze on. But basically to try and get people's imagination to come along and join us on this great adventure. And of course, we will address in that week the burning questions of science. It's got to be a really informative week. It's got to be exciting. The key word is cool, as I use boringly. Is there a better word for cool these days? I asked my 11-year-old, what is cool in science? This is last week. And he said dinosaurs. He said astronomy. And he said Mark Zuckerberg, terrifyingly. So, but there has to be a cool element to it. It's got to be really exciting and engaging, but very serious, because we are going to address the key issues that puzzle scientists, that we all worry about, that we all work in our labs, and many of us are active working scientists, and these questions will be addressed in this week. And that's really the goal, I suppose, to bring up these questions. Now, how do you deliver this kind of thing? And it's a very broad area, science, it's everything. We have 7 themes, and that's a way just to handle the programme to some extent. 7 themes, and Dave mentioned them. And the way I've done it is 7 questions. I think it's probably a better way to do it in terms of each will have a key question within each theme. So the first theme is food. Food, very simply. The question there is, will we starve? That's the question. Now, let me give you one little factoid. The projection is that by 2050, we have to increase food production on Earth by 50% or we all starve. That's one projection. There's other ones, okay? Will we starve? There's a real prospect. We're going to starve. Food is the first theme, right? Second theme is health. That is, will we cure all diseases? The goal is to find cures. What will that mean? And I'm an immunologist, and we're pretty close now to finding cures for MS, for arthritis, for cancer. If you look at disease like malaria, TB, what will that mean if we find cures for these diseases? What does it mean to invest in all this research into disease? What does it mean for the pharmaceutical sector? You know, so health, the second one is, will we cure all disease? The third theme is energy in the environment, and that is, will we burn and or drown, is the question there. Another terrifying statistic, I read this in Science last night. In 2010, it was the hottest summer in 500 years in Eastern Europe. There's a really good science paper defining that perfectly. Hottest summer in 500 years. 55,000 people died of heat that summer in Eastern Europe. 25% of the crop failed in Eastern Europe because of that heat wave. The Russian economy fell by 1% because of 3 months of heat, right? A key question. I could say a burning question. There's plenty of stupid science jokes as well, but will we burn? We could drown if the planet melts. Now, obviously, within that, energy is a key topic there, and providing energy. That's the third one. The fourth one is a really important one. I think Paddy said this. Where we think Dublin will stand out is the arts-science interface. Because one thing we're known for, hopefully, is the arts. We're also known for the sciences, but that interface is a really exciting one, and that'll be a key theme for the conference. We will focus on that in lots of different ways with, you know, there'll be symphonies performed based on science. I believe there are some. There'll be plays put on, hopefully. I believe UCD are going to organise a science fiction movie festival. All that will be in that. For the symposia, though, the question we're addressing there is, will we ever know why we're here? Now, if you're a neuroscientist, you might think we might know because it's all about synaptic plasticity. But the art-science interface, will we know why we're here, is the question we've come up with there. The next theme is information or the digital age. That's a very exciting one. The question there is, will we ever meet human 2.0? Or what will human 2 look like, I guess, is a question we might ask there. And then the last theme is policy, which on the face of it looks a bit dull, but it's a key one. And the question under policy is, will Europe compete, is the question there. I had, will we beat China? But Paddy didn't like that. He thought that was a bit singling out China. But will we compete? Why would Brussels fund science? Why should the Irish government bother funding science? Is science a real career option for people? So policy, the whole area of policy, which is a very important one, and that's the seventh and final theme. So on the website, those 7 themes are listed. When you put in a bid, you list which theme you think your topic might fit under, and then the programme committee have to try to go through all these proposals and try and put together a programme. Now, it may well we'll end up with 5 of them, I don't know. It depends on what comes in terms of the response. But those are the seven themes around which the whole week will be set. And remember, the goal again is 120 symposia we have to set up for this week. Each symposium or session or discussion or whatever you want to call it, roughly 4 speakers in each is the kind of scale of it. And we don't just want symposium. We want debates, we want dialogue. The format will be a bit didactic, obviously, people giving talks, but really, we like imagination in terms of how the programme will be delivered around those 7 themes and around those 7 questions is how it will work. So the goal of the programme committee is to put together these 120 sessions in that week. That's the key mission that I have to try to chair and try to put this particular programme together along those lines. And that's the core of the meeting of that week, those 120 sessions. Now, the other part is, and our job at the moment, which we've been most busy with, really, because we're waiting now for the deadline, 30th of June, and that's the drop-dead deadline, sort of. We look at what comes in after that. And then, as Paddy has said, there's a that's called the bottom-up approach. We also have top-down, so we can decide as a committee which areas are missing. Should we focus on certain things, organise symposia that we think might be important? So there is room for the top-down as well as a bottom-up, and the combination of the top-down and the bottom-up will generate the programme. It depends on what comes in. Everything might come in. It could be a brilliant set of symposia suggested from the call. We don't anticipate that. I mean, I think typically from previous ones I've heard it's about 70% bottom-up and 30% top-down. That's the kind of scale, the balance between the two. And obviously, if there's gaps or new areas emerge and all the rest, we have to have flexibility here, so we won't be wedded to a particular balance there. But that's roughly a guideline as to how the thing might play out. The other thing to say is a really important part of it, I think as Paddy said as well, is these keynotes, you might call them. And especially for the publicity and trying to get the energy behind it and who's coming and who are the names, basically. And our goal there is to 4 stars. Now, by stars, we mean household names, effectively. Al Gore would be a prototype. We haven't invited him, but that kind of thing, right? And we've invited Bill Bryson, for instance. We've invited Zuckerberg, Sergey Brin. We invited, I think, maybe 18 people that fit that category. Mary Robinson has agreed to give one of those star lectures. Bob Geldof, again, he gives a very good talk on Africa and on food and all that, so he would be a typical example of a star. Now, of course, your pure scientist goes, oh no, not these people, you know. But we need 4 mega names to really attract the attention of people, not just the media, but everybody, you know, in Ireland should see these names and know them and be aware of them. So 4 stars, and then we need 12, is the number, plenaries. And these would typically be Nobel laureates, outstanding scientists who give great talks. And there's Craig Venter is a good example of one of those. Now, he could bump up into a star, possibly, you know. But he said yes, which is a great achievement, really. And he's going to come and give probably 2 or 3 talks. So 12 in that category. I think we've invited about 10 Nobel laureates so far. And 2 of them have said yes, I think. So we're getting responses now to our invitation to come under that list of 12. And again, they should be really outstanding speakers. We kind of use TED as a prompt there to see who we would invite, for instance. So we've done a bit of homework on the ones we've invited. And as I say, we're waiting now for the responses to come in. And I think that list of 16 then is going to be a very important anchor for the whole meeting in many ways, because these are the people around which much will be built, and we'll be asking them to give these keynote talks. They mightn't give talks, they might give, you know, discussions or, you know, whatever format we can think of. It could be an interview. It doesn't have to be a stand-up talk necessarily. One idea that we had, that Porrick had actually from the Irish Academy, was maybe get a debate between Venter and Francis Collins, who led the genome project in the NIH, versus the private guy, and get them to have a dialogue. So we're looking for very innovative ways. We don't just want it to be a professor standing up and spouting. Although spouting is a very important part of it. We do want innovation in terms of how these things are delivered. And so what we hope to get to by the end of July is the real deadline. In fact, because the program committee meets at the end of July to look at the response to the call. At that stage, you're hoping by August to have the bare shape of the program in place, a good idea of these key speakers, and then also a good idea of the different symposia and how they might fit together is the goal of that meeting. So the really important thing is to get a response to this call. Now, as Paddy said, there has been a good response so far. Generally speaking, compared to previous ESOPs, it's going well. But now's the time to get your proposals in. Get them onto the website. And then they'll come to the committee that I chair, and we can have a good look at them and then begin the dialogue and debating what they might be. And for me, really, it is a very serious scientific conference. Let's not forget that. It's not supposed to just be about a few dinosaurs walking down Grafton Street or whatever we put on as science in the city. These are serious questions. The 7 questions we're addressing are essential for the future of our planet. And there has to be a serious, robust debate about those questions, as well as the fun bit, to make science fun and to make it attractive and to make it the dreaded word cool again. And what I kind of said to our programme committee was, when we're coming to decide what should be on the programme, what criteria should we use? Now, the fun one is one of the sort of background criteria, I guess. But we'd love to have controversy. That's the best thing of all, is a row, right? Someone says, we're all going to die in 5 years, and someone says, no, we're not. That kind of thing. We want a bit of debate, controversy around each of those questions. We'd love breakthroughs. We're trying to set it up such that at least one major breakthrough is announced at the conference, and it'll be a bit hard to stage that. Nature are very much involved as a journal, and Phil Campbell, and we're in dialogues with him about trying to hold back a story maybe and have a big press release that week. So we're trying to get a massive breakthrough announced that week. But any of the symposia, if we can build in some kind of discovery, because science isn't supposed to be just about me telling you stuff, it's what I've discovered, So we're trying to get the discovery breakthrough aspect tied into it as well. And then the third one really is this: if you hear the idea, or you hear the title of a symposium, do you go, that's cool, that's interesting? It has to really get our imagination. It's got to be something that really stands out. Oh, I'd go to that for definite. I want to hear what they're saying there. I want to discuss it. So that kind of interest aspect is obviously the other key criterion we're going to use. And then hopefully then, based on the response, we should be able to generate an outstanding program. This, as I say, being the key goal of the whole thing, is to make this the key standout conference of the year. And remember, we're up against it. You've got plenty of conferences on in 2012. And it's unusual that... who wrote, I've got your wife and children? No. Yes, so the AAAS, in many ways, we're competing with the AAA. It is a general science conference. It's not supposed to be a specialist conference. And there are other ones out there. This has to be the best in the world. We've got to have this stand out as the real triumphant conference of the year. 5,000 people coming to Dublin to make it the best conference of the year. So that's the real goal of the whole thing, I guess. And I'll finish on that note and just mention 1 or 2 quick things. The plan now, I think, is to have a general discussion, isn't it, Paddy? And also to talk to each other, I suppose. And these people, just to give their names, who are heading the local committees in different aspects.